Uh, Animesh, can you enable the host sharing? I believe it's disabled.
Yeah, done. It's you can share now.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen, everyone?
Yeah,
Yes,
hi
Maulik.
Manu. Yeah, your screen is visible.
Okay, fine. So, I mean, what discussion I had with Animesh, I believe your this admin part is being covered. So today we are going to start the development part in Salesforce. So mainly the development in Salesforce, it happens at two levels. First is your backend part, and the other one is your front end part. So in the first, I mean, two sessions, first 2 or 3 sessions, we will try to cover the backend part. So after that, I will move into the front end part. So backend part, it mainly involves your Apex coding. So this Apex coding in Salesforce, it's very much similar to Java or .NET. So all of those people who are having the background from Java or .NET, for them it will be easier to grasp these things, because here also you have same thing in the variable declarations, collections, methods, classes, web services, all those things you have. So all your backend part that comes into Apex. Now your front end part, this has been a transform journey from Salesforce. So how it started out? It started out with Salesforce initially had this S controls. So after that it moves into Visual Force. So when I started working in Salesforce, that was around, I believe, at 2013. So at that time they had this Visual Force pages. So around 2015, 16, Salesforce introduced this concept of lightning components. So how this lightning components or this lightning experience was different from Visual Force pages or Salesforce Classic was, in Salesforce Classic, it was like in I had to develop some sort of a code using Visual Force, and I needed to make that thing for your mobile and desktop application. I had to write a separate set of code. Now with lightning experience or lightning components, the advantage was, I was writing the code at one place, but it could be used at one code, you could be used at the desktop part as well as it could use at your mobile part. So now with this JavaScript principles and the standards, Salesforce in 2019 introduced lightning web components. So lightning web component, it mostly follows the JavaScript standards, and plus it has been inbuilt out of box so many functionalities, so it's much easier to implement, as well as the performance is also faster. So this was regarding the front end and the back end. So today we will start with the Apex. So the topics that I'm going to discuss with you today is, first of all, we will start with what is a SOQL query. Then we will go into maybe some debugging. This I won't go into much into details. After that, I will go into this SOSL query. So after that, we will go into collections. Then collections, how we can query the data from collection. Then we will go into enhanced for loops. Then maybe how we can do DML statements in Salesforce. So after that, we will go into one small code. After that, example of a map query and running the codes from multiple places in Salesforce. Then Apex classes, and then finally we will go into triggers. So anyone aware regarding anyone tried Salesforce development? Any of you?
Yeah, like I have tried it.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah,
Uh,
so yeah, I have tried that. Yeah,
okay. So what did you try in Salesforce development?
yeah,
You
like on
tried
the trail,
some.
yeah, on the trailhead, I did like some stuff that are trails are given over there. Those Apex specialist batches, I took
Okay.
those.
So you covered the trigger part and the batch part. Yeah.
Yeah, I covered that.
Okay. So how did you find the coding?
So yeah, like yeah, it's not that difficult. Like the LWC part is difficult. I find that a bit difficult.
Okay, LWC part you find it difficult. So you covered the Visual Force part and the Lightning components, and then you started with LWC. Okay, that's nice. So did you went through the governor limits also there?
Yeah, governor limits. I know about these Apex governor limits.
Okay, fine, good. Okay, so first let me start with the Salesforce. Assuming these are my accounts object, so I want to query them. I mean, in the backend, I mean, how many number of account records are there into my system for using it into my code. So how can I do it? So for this thing, what I will do, I will go into here from developer console. So now there are multiple number of ways I can query. So one of the ways is this Salesforce inbuilt developer console I can use. Apart from this, I can also use Salesforce Workbench. But this Salesforce Workbench is a third-party application. But in comparison to developer console, it offers more features. So there you need to select which environment do I need to log in out and the version. So generally it's like when you keep it as default. And there you can also do the different operations. So currently we will do into developer console, and maybe in the later we will try from Workbench also. So assume I want to query the accounts object. So like you query, you write in your Oracle database, that is or in any other language, that is very much similar. So here you will write it like select. Now assume I need to query the name. Let me show you the account object structure also. So this way you can go into the backend of Salesforce also. I believe this will have been covered in your normal sessions also, admin session also. So assume here I want to query maybe account name I want to query. So I need to write the API names there. The name is already here. Apart from this, let us try to query. I believe I should be having some custom fields, or maybe I can create one just to show you an example. Okay, so now in case this is what I mean to saying that I need to write the API names of the query. So I will write like this from normal account, and maybe we can write it in the number of records which are created in last 30 days. I have the syntax with me. Okay, so
Where keyword got messed up?
oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I understand. So this is, you can see in the last number of total in my system, there are about 32 accounts, that I have queried it out. So currently when I just created this new email field and doesn't have any value. So in case it had any value, I could query those records also. So SOQL mainly it's a Salesforce object query language. Now this Salesforce object query language this can be done on a single object or the related objects what it had. So what I mean by related objects here is I have account, and with that I have a contact as a child. So in case I want to query account with the context also, that those things also I can query out. So what I can do it here from, just let us try it. Just 1 minute. Subquery. Okay, let us try with this one, the opportunity one. Maybe the last name field, I forgot its name. Just to show you an example.
I think the comma got missed out.
Okay, Nimesh, let me check it out.
After
Oh,
name,
sorry. Yeah, thanks. Pointing out. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to show you. So here you can see, here I queried out the account object also. Here I queried it out the opportunity object also. So these were the two things that I queried out. So in case I want, so what it has, this is my parent account. So with that I have your child opportunities I have. So I can query any field from opportunity. So in case, let us try some other fields that we can also try it out. If you see, there are some other fields also there. Maybe I can try this lead source. Yeah, so this is how, if you see, now in case I go to this account, sorry, this one doesn't have any opportunity. So let me try with this second one, H communication. So if you see, these are the number of opportunities that I have. So here, if you see, currently I have 4 opportunities. So this is what has been queried here. If you see, all those records are there. So in case I try to put it in Notepad, let us try to check this one. So now let me here try to put this record. So here, if I see, so this is my opportunity and this is my name of the account. Yeah, so here if you see, these are the 4 opportunities. So this was the opportunity, I opened it up. So any question till this point? How here what I did, I had the account object. It has 4 child's opportunities. So what I did, I query the account object as well as I queried related records also. So any doubt on this point? Any questions?
No.
Okay.
No.
So now remember this thing, from parent to account, I can only query up to one level. From account, assume there is an account, there is a contact, and there below contact there is also 2-3 childs are also there. So I cannot go from account to this childs which are below contact. I cannot go them through this query directly. So in that case, I had to make some sort of a looping or some other criteria. I had to use it out. So from account, from parent to account, in case of query and subquery, I can go into one level. But in case of child, from child to parent, assume I had to query from opportunity to account. That is, I'm doing now the opposite. So that level I can go up to 5 levels. So let us try that thing also. So there, what I need to do. In case had it been a custom object, I would have to specify _r. But since your account is a standard object, so here I just need to specify account. That is your name of the API name of the object and the field that I want to query. Let me take the API name here. What account has? Maybe I'm writing something wrong here. Let me check.
It will be opportunity over there, I guess.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So here, if you see, what I have done is, this is my opportunity object. So there I queried two field. I queried its ID and lead source. From the account, I'm querying its name. So now, in case I wanted to do it, account, assume there could be some parent object and that child object. So I'm at child object 5. Assuming there are there is parent, child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4, child 5. So what could I have done is, there I would have to write it like, assuming this is a custom object. So here I will like this, like assume it's a 5 object. So I will write like this. And then in case this is my maybe child 1. So this is how you wanted to do it. See, so you will like this, child __ child 4 here will come. So let me just copy it. I don't have that object, just for your reference, how I can use. So here I will write it child 3. Then child 2. Then child 1. And then assuming there is any such field, maybe something like name is here. So this is how I will query. So this I can do it from child to parent, I can go up to 5 levels. So is this part clear? From parent to child, how can I query it out? Let me open this PPT for you just once. Okay, so this part I covered it out. This Salesforce object query I covered it out. So similarly, just like the filters you have, so these filters you can put it in your query also. Where clause I have, so what else filters I need it out. Okay, so my Salesforce object query, it was on my single object or on my related object. So assume I want to query some data, maybe my name Manu. So it's present in this text data is present in how many objects it's being presented out. So in that case, what I can do, mean I need to query my data into n number of objects, which may or may not have any relationships out. So for that, what we can make use of Salesforce object search language. Mean this query is generally, as compared to SOQL, it's used very less. But it depends upon your requirement. In case I need to check some sort of a data in multiple objects, so there we will use this Salesforce object query language. So if you see, these are the 4 points which I discussed with you. So if you see this one, the main one, you can use SOQL to retrieve objects of a single object, whereas SOSL, it can be used to search across multiple objects. So now how its structures look like. So this is what it looks like. In SOQL, you had this keyword select. So here, instead of select, your keyword will come here as find. So after that, what text do I need to search it out? So that will come here. So here, one thing to be noted in this search query is, in case I'm searching a single word, so in that case, it should be enclosed in your single quotes. But in case I'm having multiple words that need to be searched out, so that could be enclosed in your double quotes. So in search group, I mean by in which objects do I need to search it out. So as you can see, by default, it will come into your all fields. And apart from that, which other fields I can search it out? I can search it out in name field, email, phone, and sidebar field. So these are the type of fields that are being supported where I can search the data. And after that, what do I need to return it out? Which object do I need to return it out, and which fields do I need to return it out? In case I'm not specifying any such field, by default, it will return as your ID. So let us try this one example that I already have with me. I already have this one Manuflow. I already have. So this Manuflow demo keyword, this I am going to search in all fields. And what it's going to return me, it's going to return me the name field of the account, the first name and the last name, and the email field of the contact, and the subject field of the case. So here, if you see this Manuflow, this has one account, this has one contact, and it has one case with this subject. So in case I also try to search this one here. So here, if you see, I have this account, this case, and this contact. So is this clear? This Salesforce object search language. Any questions on this?
No.
Yeah. So this was the first basic thing that I wanted to tell you. How can I query my Salesforce data in Salesforce using Apex? So this is the first thing. Obviously, in case I need to write some code, I need to know how can I fetch my data. So now if you see this part, this we have covered it out. Okay. So one thing, now what I will do, this was just the query I showed you out. Now what I will do, I will write my SOQL query, this one, using Apex. How can I write the query? So there are two ways. One of the ways is I can write a query using a string query. So that is one way. The second way is you can write the Apex query inside using this brackets. So what I will do first, I will cover with you how can I write a string query. So if you see, I have already this one example. So now, let me close all of this. Okay, so Apex class and the methods, this we will cover later on. So how can I in case I write some maybe 4 or 5 lines of code. So mean how can I test it? So here what you have, this anonymous window you have. So here if you see mean I already so I already mean have this query. So here what I have done is, this is string query result. This is my query which I need to do it out. After that, since I need to fetch the data from the database, so what I will do, I will write like this: database.query, what is my query, and then what is my result. Now the biggest advantage writing with this string query is, mean you can create a dynamic query. Assuming you want to have some if conditions, and based upon that you need to create your query. So the biggest advantage by writing this query is that you can create a dynamic query. So let us, and in case you need to debug it out your code, so this is how it's being done it out. You need to write system.debug, maybe some sort of a just for your reference, how you want your data to be displayed it out. Here I can write it anything, string rec1 result2. Similarly, you have console.log. Similarly, here you have system.debug. So in case I just try to query it out, so this will return me the. So click on here, execute highlighted. So this is how your logs will be created. So now in case here I will select my debug only. So here if you see, it will return me those 30 accounts. This is one way you can query and debug also. But in case you want some detailed debug logs, so what you can do here is, you can set the debug log individually also. Just let me show. So here you go debugs. So here what I will do, I already have this developer log with my name. So here I can select the start date and the end date. So just let me try to put it for 1 hour. So these are the debug levels that you have. This you can check it from details also, what it means. Currently I'm using the max level, that is your developer console. This will have the maximum level. So just now let me try to save it. Apart from this one is for platform events, so this you can ignore. So currently if you see, I have set my debug for 25 July from this 1 hour. So now let us try to run our code from here. Now let us refresh here. Yeah, there you see the log is being created. Generally, whenever debugging that we are doing it out, where I have my full code and my full transaction running. So this is the approach that is being followed here. So in case I try to search the debug name here, result track here. Let me copy it. So there you see. And plus you can see this is more detailed as compared to the other. So now here I covered two things. I cover with you the dynamic query, how it can be created in Salesforce. And the second thing that I covered it out with you here is how I can debug the code. So any questions till here this one?
No.
Okay. So this was one of the way I wrote my query using dynamic. There is one more way I can write the query, and which dynamic query is generally around mean if I have 10 requirement, 8 times you will do it with the other way that I'm going to discuss. 2 times you will go for dynamic query. So the other way here is, let me just take the example I have, or maybe I can write the code. Okay, let us write one line of code. This collections I will discuss with you later, but first, just for your example, I will show you this example. So here how it is, list, you write the name of the object that you want to query it out, just write any variable name that you want to assign it, write it equal to equal, and then you have your square brackets, and here just copy the query. Now just try to put the debug here. Let us try to share, maybe if you want, we can change the filter also. Maybe, okay, let us just keep it same. So here if you see, I have done the same thing that I did with dynamic query. Here also I got the records. So in case we want to check it, how many number of records are there. List has different methods. Like in have your Java, I can write it here size. So it will return me in the last number of 30 days records. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Yeah. Yeah. So now here if you see, these are the number of records that I have. So the size here came as 52. So 52 account records are present here. So here if you see now the code, what I have done is I have queried the account records for last 30 days, which were 52. I assign it to the list. Then I try to just display them through debug logs. So this was the records which it came here, and after that the size it came here. So any questions on this one in the list part, in how I query the records? So two approaches, if you see, I did it out. So if you see, this one was my first approach. Sorry. For you people, let me try to make it easy. Yeah, in case you need to write the comments, so this is how you write it, like in normal language. So this one was the dynamic query that we covered it out, and this one was the normal circle query that we covered it out. I believe someone was speaking when he had done on Trailhead. I believe this was the mostly the way which has been covered in Trailhead.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but I will tell you the disadvantage also here writing this way, because writing the list query sometimes is in this way it leads to heap size. So there is a better way to write the query using enhanced for loop or map query. So this I will cover you in the later session. So now if I go here, so SOQL query we covered it out, debug logs we covered it out, SOSL we covered it out. Okay. So now let us try to cover the collections in Salesforce. So what I mean by collections here is, in Salesforce I need to bulkify my data. Generally that data that will not come as a single record. It may come as a single record. It may come as a multiple records. So how I'm going to store those multiple records. So for that Salesforce provide you three things in collections. Just like normal language, you have your list, you have your sets, you have your maps. So what is the difference between these three things? First one, your list. So what is your list? List is your ordered collections. So here if you see the records that I queried out from your accounts, these were ordered records. I had account records, that's 30 records. Those came in one particular order. Now one advantage with list is it have ordered records, but one disadvantage is also there. It can have your duplicate records also, it can have. Now, in case I don't want the duplicate records, I can make use of sets. But with sets, it's like you will have unique records you will have in sets, but it will have unordered collection records it will have. And the third thing that is there, that is your map, that is your key value pair. It's just like I have some username. So in case I write some username, I will get the password, or maybe some sort of passcode I have. So based upon that, I will get my password. So let us try to how I can initialize my list, sets, and map. I will just write one small example. So in case I list, so it depends upon the data type which I have. In the above example, I had account. So here I can have a type as string also. So write it. API name I can give any. So maybe I can write something like rec list. I can write it. Okay. So now there are multiple ways I can assign the list records. What I can do, I can get this rec list and just try to add maybe one or two elements. I will try to add. First name maybe Manu. Second name can be Animesh. Third name, maybe if you want, I can have Sudipta also here. So now what I can do, I can try to debug them also. So just see whether these records go into a list or not. Okay. So now here if you see, three records came, Manu, Animesh, Sudipta. So these if you see, these are the order one. First Manu was added, then Animesh, and then Sudipta. Maybe let us try to have Manu 2 times here. Now with the Salesforce 2 years ago, you can even avoid the duplicates also in Salesforce when you have this contains method you have. So now if you see here, Manu came twice. So here I have the ordered records, but duplicates also came. So is this clear?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so this was the one way I did initialization. You see, adding the list. So in case you want to check it out, you can check the similarly in Salesforce documentation. So if you see, you have this list class. there you can see in all those methods. So generally, obviously, no one is remembering all these methods. So whenever there is a requirement, just check the Salesforce documentation and try to use them. And there is one more way I could add these records. Now what I will do, I will comment this code. In case I wanted to add them in a single line also, that I could also do it out. I will add two only just for example. So there you will see two ways. So this generally one line is used in case you don't want to use your add method and maybe there is some direct data you can use some custom settings or other things. So those I will cover. We will cover in later sessions. Okay, so list we already covered it out. Now let us try with the same thing with set. What I will do, will take this code, change it to set. Let me try to here add the duplicate also. I will set this one. So now here if you see, I have four names. So here Manu is duplicate. So now see whether the sets show me just like the duplicates like list or not. So here you see the duplicate Manu did not come it out. And plus here the order is not guaranteed. So if you see the set that we used it out, you see Manu was added first and then Animesh, but now you see the records. Animesh came first, but it doesn't have any duplicates. So is this set part clear?
Yeah.
And the very common use method in set is mostly your set method and your contains method. So whenever I want to check whether that particular value is present in my set or not, I can make use of a contains. If you see what I could do it here, I could do it like this. If I write it dot contains, want to check whether Manu is present or not. Remove this one. Write it something like yes, Manu is present. Coding minutes very much similar. So I can have an else also just for reference. So in case it's not present. So here what I have done is I have this set. I am having using this method contains. So in case you sell Salesforce documentation also, So this is what I'm referring. So in case now Manu is being present, it would go into my this code. In case it's not present, then it would go into my this code. So let us try to execute this one. So if you see, Manu is present. Now let us try to add some other name. I write my subname. So now it should go into my next part. See, it came went into me. So is this clear? I mean, what I did, I used the set data I added out, the unique records. So after that, I do the contain method. Any questions on sets? So shall we go to maps now?
Sure.
So now my third thing comes your maps. So it's a key value player. So I can have a map of anything. String I will have here. So now here you will have the key value pair. So just write a new map and assume in what I will do, I will write them in current cities. I mean Manu is in which city, animation which city. So what I will do, I will use the put method here. Here I will enter the key Manu. I will write the city as after that I will have Animesh. I will have Kolkata. Yeah. So now what I will do, I will just try to debug it also. Mainly your Salesforce coding, it happens on these three things only. Mostly it works on your sets and your map part only or list. That's why I mean I'm putting in little bit extra effort on these things because then this basis should be clear because then it's easier to grasp other things. Okay. So now here what I will do, let us see whether the data goes into my maps or not. So here what I have done is, let me try to explain to you. This map I initialize it. So inside that I use my put method. So there I put two values. Manu belongs to city Mumbai, Animesh belongs to Kolkata. So now when my map should return, it should return me these two values, when Manu's address and the Animesh address. Now if you see and together, you see Animesh belongs to Kolkata, Manu belongs to Mumbai. So now in case I just want to get Manu's record, what I will do, you can use the get method, but always remember, we never use your get method directly. Before that, always check whether that map contains that key or not, because in case you are not using the your contains key before using the get method, it will give you your dereference null error. I mean many people tend to do this key check. So what is the best practice? How you write it? You write it like this: is not equal null and your size greater than 0, and put contains key check also. Inside I had this method contains, so here I will have contains. Java people I believe will be aware, so I'm just assuming someone is from non-technical background for whom it's easier to understand. So here what I just In the contains key, mean I need to write it, whether it contains Manu or not. Now I could put it in a string also, just for your reference, and I will just put it like this, will be easier to understand. Okay. So now if you see, I got my map result, these names, that particular address of Manu, that I got it as Mohan. So this was my initialization part. After that, I check whether my map is null or not, mean it has the records or not. After that, I am checking whether this key Manu is present or not. In case it's present, it is returning me Manu's address. So now all these things are being clear. I mean, what is a list and what is a set and what is a map.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So now if you see, I covered the collection part, I covered it out. This query example mean that I already did with you, mean the dynamic query and your normal query that I covered it out. So now what I will do, as I told you, mean there are a number of ways, mean I can query that account data, I can query it out in Salesforce. So now what I will do, I will query those account records and will try to store in a list, in a map, in a set using for enhanced loop. First, I will go with your for enhanced loop. After that, I will show you the more simpler way also, I mean using the map query also. So first, let us cover this enhanced for loop. Enhanced for loop, it's been the same thing that we have in Java also. When you just need to specify that object list, you can query on those records, and based upon that, you can put your data into your collections. So now what we will do, yeah, I told you when I wrote this query, mean there is one disadvantage with this query. The disadvantage with this query is Salesforce heap size. I mean, whenever we are doing this transaction, this heap gets collected. So in case I am using this list query lots of, so it tends to mean increase the size of heap. I believe the limit is 10 MB, or I don't remember. Animesh, what is the exact limit for the heap size? Do you remember? I don't remember.
I think it's 12 MB something.
12 MB, yeah. So, mean in case you are having this list queries, lot of it tends to give you this heap size transaction. In case your transaction is small and you don't have much records, much queries, then it's fine. But in case there are a lot of transactions, in a transaction there is a lot of code, that this heap size could create a problem for you. So what is the better way to write a query? The better way is I go for this enhanced for loop. So I will tell you how we can do it. Just write this for the name of the object that I want to query, any variable you define it, and then let us copy this query. Yeah, fine. So needs to be copied with your brackets. Yeah. So now before that, what I will do, I will have 3 variables. Set, I will take account IDs. Third, we will have a map. Since it's a key value, for what I will do in the map, I will have my key as the account ID and the accounts record. So, So I will put it like this. Okay, so now what I will do, I will add the list of account records which I get from this query into my list. After that, I will have one set. Yeah, so now the third thing what I will do, I will have this map. So here my key will be the account ID and the value will be the account record. And always remember, never write your query like I wrote it. This one is correct way, enhanced loop, but never write it inside your for loop like this. This is never recommended because what it will do, in Salesforce, you have this governor limit of 100 SOQL queries. So in case there are more than 100 records, this won't allow your transaction to run here. So always write the query like this. So now just try to put the debugs also here. And always, whenever you are writing a query in Salesforce, always try to have some sort of a clause or some limit there. Because in Salesforce, whenever you are writing a synchronous query, there you cannot query more than 50,000 records based upon Salesforce governor limits. So whenever you have, you need some sort of a, some filter, or maybe in case here I did not have where I could have used a limit also. But in case I want to fetch more than 50,000, I need to make use of a async process. So that we will cover in the later session also, how the async process works. So whenever you are doing the transaction in a sync process, always you need some sort of a filter or maybe some sort of a limit, anything you need. You cannot write the query like this. In case you write it like this, more than 50,000, you will get that error, 50,001 error you will get. And the governor limit, just tell me, is it covered in previous sessions or not currently?
No.
Okay, fine. Maybe then I can, in the next section, maybe give you a brief description about it. Okay, now let us see what happens here. So if you see before I run this code, what I have done, I initialize this list, I initialize this set, then I use this map, key value pair. After that, what I have done, I have queried my account records for last 30 days. I have tried to put those account records into a list, after that into a set, and then into a map. Which was a line which is it does not exist. Okay, I wrote the wrong name, sorry. Yeah. Now if you see, so in the list my account records went into my set. account ID is wet, and into my map account ID and the account record. So is this clear? Any questions we have? Maybe I can open the code.
Manu Santosh here.
Yeah.
When you are fetching any records from particular table, is it necessary to declare those list or variable with a particular type? Means you are declaring with an account, and in a for loop also you are declaring the variable with an account type. Can we use instead string also?
You're saying here I can define a string here.
Yeah, here for you are declaring the variable account ACCT with the type of an account.
Yeah, this one I initialize it now, because in case I did, in case I did not initialize it, then
No,
how
I'm
will?
saying like, can I use the type as string instead of account?
Yeah, but in that case your account IDs will come, brother. Let me show you. You're saying want to declare it as string like
Yes.
this. Okay, fine.
Yes. Yes.
So now, but I won't be able to add the account records here. I will only be able to add the account IDs here. Now let me try to add accounts for you. Okay.
Okay.
Now it will give you error. See? Line 106. So now
Okay,
in case I
for
need,
loop, that account is there, no? That can be
Yeah.
defined with a string.
yeah, in case I want, account can't be a string. Account fields I can make it string. So here I could use account.id or account name or something what I need. Got it?
Okay, when we are fetching any records,
Typecasting, how S object you can typecast it to a string, that is not possible. You won't be able to use it. Here, what I could have done, one thing I could have done, one more thing I could do, I could have maybe string name equal acc dot name. This what I can do. This I can do. If you want. This I can do. Now it ran. You see? Hello.
yes, yes.
Is it clear now?
No, you are returning the values from that query, that select query. So I'm saying like that when we are writing that query like SOQL or SOSL, is it necessary to store that values in the particular variable type? If you are fetching the
Yeah.
value from account, we need to declare that as an account only like that.
Yeah, that is important. So here, in case had it been a string, I would have made need use of string. Assume in something like was this was there. This one. Okay. So now in case I need to loop it on this set, what could I have done? I would have written like this. Now you see. Fine.
Yes, sir.
This was my type string. Now here I use a string. Now here the loop will run 3 times. 2, I believe 2. How many were set in set? How many records will there? It will be. Manu animate. Present, present, present. Is it now clear?
Yes, man.
So anyone, any questions? Apart from this?
Manu, I have one question. So I just wanted to know, we use this execute anonymous window just to check the instant, right? Because
Yeah.
instantly we have to check because it has nothing to do with the triggers and all part, right? Because
No, no, no.
triggers
That
will
time,
fetch the reports, right?
yeah, that I will go. One will go later. Because had I been gone directly into Apex class and trigger, then it would have been tough to grab.
Sure. Thank
Just
you.
for your people example, I did this thing because I want to go in one particular order. Because in case I go directly into your trigger and Apex class, then it would be like there would be some people who are aware with some different technical background, but there could be some people who does not have a coding background. So that's why I just wanted to have this little bit of basic. So that was the idea.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So now what I will do, you see how many number of lines of code did I write here? If you see, from 104 I started, I went to 1016. So I wrote about 12 lines of code. So now this 12 lines of code, I could do it in 3 lines also. That I will show you how. This is one more way. So here I will have this one map. I will have it as string. I will have it at account. I will name it as map query. Now I will write it here as new map. Yeah, so near what I will do, now I will write my select query. Yeah. Now what I will do, in the map, I have this method key set. So based upon that key set, what I can directly get the set of records. So if you see this line here, what I have done is, I have this map query. This is your ID and account. I'm querying those records. That is your account record and its ID and name. So here ID will go into this ID. Apart from this, which other fields are there? Maybe I can take another field from account. Just try to increase the fields. This is one extension I'm generally using with Lightning Inspector. This you can also use it's quite good. Okay, yeah. Good. So here what I have done is, in ID is going my account ID, in the account with this full record is going. So I will have this same thing in which I did at above. Set query I will do. You can initialize or not. Currently, I will do it directly just to show you the example. I will have this key set. Now I will have my list of account also. No need to write. So here on the map, I will use one more method, that is your values. Now we will try to debug just like that. Okay, so now just try to query this thing. did I miss? The line number, I just checking. 120. Okay, sorry, I wrote the wrong name. If you see, API name is to count. Yeah. Yeah. So now you see the same thing that I did it through enhanced for loop, that I did it through map query in just 3 steps. So I mean, whenever I get the requirement, I mean, I generally prefer this map query approach and then enhanced loop, because generally, I mean, with this approach is, I mean, first my code is less, performance is also good, and it's much more easier and compact. But initially, I would advise you people, and you will see those Trailhead example also. I mean, you go with enhanced for loop. So once you become comfortable with them, then maybe you can use this part. Any questions in this code? Maybe I can put this one in notepad for you. So map, I got
So, Manu,
it. Yeah.
You just mentioned that whenever you get requirement, you prefer to use the enhanced for loop. Means actually, what type of requirements it is?
It depends. Now I give you one common example. Just recently I got a requirement from customer was, my customer is from telecom background. So currently, they had this requirement. There were sometimes Finnish customers, they need some sort of a password. So for that password, they were calling to the customer care. So they were not charging it out. So now their requirement was they wanted one UI. Once the user click on it, a screen should open, which should show him the warning message. This will be the amount that you will be charged out. So after that, he was clicking it out. All his invoice details would come on it. So there, what we had done is I had to fetch that charge data from my table. So once that I have fetched it out, I had to do some sort of a calculation, and then I had to make some sort of a send us those details to integration system. So there, what all was involved, the button that was involved, that was the front end UI. So there, what I had done, I had made use of this Lightning Web Components. Now I had my front end, but now my data is going to come from my back end. Those charge details and what the user selected and how that detail is going to go into my integration system. So all that part, those charges and those integration that is going to the other system, that was happening through your Apex. So this is how my requirement was all about.
Okay.
It was like I was
Thank you.
clicking on this button. First page, I am seeing the charges. I'm seeing the warning that you will be charged for this service. Once the user saves it, on the next page, he is able to see that password that he forgot it out, that passcode that he forgot it out. And plus, with that, also it has the detail. This is the invoice that you have been charged. And plus, those details were going to the integration system also.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one, I believe we also covered it out. Okay. Fine. Enhanced loop, this one we covered. Okay, now what I will do, before I move into the next part, maybe I can show you how an Apex class is created in Salesforce. Yeah. So in case I need to create an Apex class, there are a number of ways. One way I will show you from Salesforce. Apart from this, I will show you one more way also. That we have some tool called VS Code also, Visual Studio Code also in Salesforce, that I will also show you. So here, just search Apex class. So here you just need to go here, just click on new. So what I did, I went into my setup. So here I searched Apex class, and here you can just write the code. So I will write this class name public class. So it's very mean any other normal language. You have private, you have public, you have global, these sort of variables you have. So public class, I will name it as demo class. And I will just try to save it. Now what I will do, since someone asked me, I am executing the code from anonymous window. So what I will do, this list code that I created out, this one, we will just try to maybe return the map and see what result do we get it. So I will create one method here. It will be live. First, I will create the void one to make you easy to, and then maybe we can go for the return types. Okay. Void. So just write the method name. Record result. I will name it. In case I want to pass some input parameter, those also I can pass it. Currently, I won't pass anything. I will just paste this. Debugs I will keep to show you. So here what I've done, I just created this class. I've just created this method record result, and we'll try to save it. So this is what I have done. I have created this class, demo class. Inside that I have this method record result. Now I want to execute it. So since we have been executed from anonymous window a lot, let us try to execute it from Workbench also. So maybe you can get the idea of Salesforce Workbench also. For debugging purpose, this anonymous windows Workbench is sometimes been little bit better also. Oh, sorry, I believe I select the option as sandbox. Oh, I need to log it again. And you notice how I noticed I was into a sandbox, because production URL, since we are using the developer edition, these are only login.salesforce.com. But in case it's a sandbox URL, it's always test.salesforce.com. Yeah, now you have to say login here. Okay, so here you see I need to go into this Apex execute. So here if you see in the Workbench also I have these things, SOQL query, SOSL. So in case normal query wanted to be run it out, that what we were doing it there into our developer console, same thing I can do it here also. I can select the objects and all of these things. So generally, apart from this SOQL query, I can do it. I can also do data operations also. Migrations I can also do. In case I want to deploy some Apex class from one Salesforce environment to another, which may or may not be related, that I can also do it. And this utilities, here I can do different things. I can do bulk API jobs. REST Explorer, this is mainly for testing your web services without the token. Apex execute, my Apex codes which is going to run. Okay, we'll go here. Forgot the name of the class. So this is my class. Since it's a static class, so I don't need to create an instance. That's it. Now void result is my method record. Void result is a method name. It does not have any parameter. Now I will try to run it. So now you see, this is my class. Now let you see in debugging is much more better. These are all my debug logs. So this is how I created one Apex class, and I try to call this method. And one more thing here to be noted is Apex classes, there are two types. One is your without sharing and the other one is with sharing. Now, what is the difference between with sharing and without sharing? By default, the class will come as without sharing. So what I mean by without sharing and with sharing is, assume in my system, there are about 100 account records. So 60 belongs to Manu, 40 belongs to Animesh. So in case I am writing this class, that is your without sharing. So here when I write this query, assume it only has equal to account only this part. So here what it will do, it will fetch Manu's record also and Animesh records also into the code, and I can use it out. But in case I just wanted that once there is some transaction, Manu should only be able to see his records, Animesh should only be able to see his records, then in that case we are using with share. So this you can check on the internet also, this thing. And what is the difference between Salesforce with sharing and without sharing? So here that thing will be written when that sharing rules are enforced. Yeah. User context mode. So whenever you are using with sharing keyword, it will run in user context mode. Without sharing, it will always run in your system mode. So this code currently, if we see, is in system mode. And I believe securities and all of this in Animesh previously has covered very well. So those things are being applied here. That field level security, FLS, all of those things are applied. So any questions on this with sharing and without sharing?
Manu, the class we just created, a demo class, how it will work in the front end, means what, how it will react in the front end. In the front end?
Yeah, front end that we will cover in the later session. When once we create this Lightning Web components, maybe this we will cover later. I can just show you one small demo. Just for your reference, I will show you this. We will cover later. So here, if you see, I have this account edge communication. You see, I've created this Lightning Web component. So it is fetching me the news from one website. Okay. So if you see, this is one Lightning Web component I have created. I don't remember exactly the name. Yeah, this news LWC I have created. So here, if you see, this is my Apex class that I have created. Article data controller. And I'm fetching this data and then displaying on the UI. So this is my Apex class. So here mainly I have returned this thing, this article wrapper. So this is what I am using it out here. I'm calling this method calls news point. this is mean how it's been done. This we will cover later in the session. Yeah.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. So one thing I was saying to you, what I mean recommend to you people is, this codes you can do it from your workbench, you can do it from your in Salesforce, you can do it, but always use one IDE tool for this. So what I will suggest to you people is try to install this VS Code into your system and try to create some Apex classes from .place also. So what I will do, I will try to create one Apex class from you people. You see from here also I can create. I will name it as VS Code class. So now you see this class I have created. So what I will do now, it's say by default it came as with Cherry. So what I will do, I will copy this code and put it here and then try to deploy it into Salesforce. We'll copy the same thing. Since I don't need the constructor here, I will put it directly this. One more bracket should come here. I will save this. And now in case I need to deploy it, this is how I did it. Now there are two things that this you need to understand. Now here the word org refers to my Salesforce org. So this is my VS Code, this is my local setup. So now what I want my Apex class to be deployed to my Salesforce system. So here what I will do, I will deploy it to source org. So in case I will just do it one thing and then show you the results. So now my code was in my local server which was connected to my Salesforce. Now that I have deployed to my VS to my Salesforce org. Now let us see whether I am able to see this class into my Salesforce org or not. You see, and this was the class that I created. Now you see all the code is present. Now what I will do, here you see there are 3 debug points. So now what I will do, I will try to add this debug points 4 here, one more debug point I will add, and then try to see how it get reflected here. Put it anything, test result, final I will put it. So now here you see there are 4 statements. So now I want this code to be synced with this one. What I will do, I right click on it. Since when I wanted to deploy from local to server, I use this option, deploy source to org. But in this case, I need to retrieve it. So what I will do, I will try to retrieve my source from my org. Now you see this one came. So what I will suggest you people is, this is a very good website to install VS Code, even better than Salesforce Trailhead. This one I will post in the group also. Yeah, I believe this was the website that, yeah. So this link I will paste to you people into the chat. Yeah. So anything else you need from any code snippets you need, let me know when I can paste into the chat for your reference. And then maybe I believe it's already 10:35.
Manu, Showman here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the Trailhead courses we need to complete to
Yeah.
get hold of the items you mentioned?
Yeah. Okay. That I will mention. Just let me log into Trailhead. So mainly this Apex trigger this developer beginner that I will suggest to you. Let me open it. Mainly this trail I would suggest to you, this developer picking. So here, if you see, you go into your level beginner, I believe you can select. Should be the developer one. Yeah. Yeah, this one. So this data modeling, I believe this one will cover your queries and your objects that we discussed today.
Okay.
Schema builder, all this. Then this data management, this one you can currently ignore for the time being because this is data loader and all of those things. Security, I believe you already covered Animesh previously. And then you can directly go to this one. This one I suggest. Apex basics and database. This one you can start directly from here also, because this one has your Apex queries and all of those things. You see, this one you can chart, and after that you can move into triggers. But triggers mean we will cover in the next session. So in this also mean I need to cover with you 1.6 mean DML operation. So this I will cover in the next session. So for the time being, when you can start with this Apex basics, and maybe just try to do some sort of collections and all of those things that we discussed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a few admin question. Can I ask?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So like earlier we heard about that full copy sandbox and partial copy sandbox.
Mhm.
Is there any concept in Salesforce that performance testing sandbox user, then regression testing?
Yeah, that I will explain to you. I will take this one example also. Like how it's happening generally in Salesforce projects. So generally how it's happening is you have this environment. You have this your developer sandbox you have. Okay. So after your developer sandbox come your devin sandbox. So in your devin sandbox is what is happening, your integration testing, my development testing, that is what happening. So how it starts like this. I did my development in my developer sandbox. After that, once my development is done, my code goes to my SIT environment. And this one is generally your partial copy sandbox, which is there. And where generally your normal development in agile that is happening and your testing is happening. So once my development is being tested by the tester in this environment, that is your SIT, then my code goes into my UAT. So there, this is my full copy sandbox. This is where my end-to-end full testing is happening. This involves my performance testing. This involves my regression. Regression mostly is happening in both of the environment. This is being done in SIT also, in UAT also. This UAT is mainly for your performance testing, and this one is a full copy sandbox. And your full copy sandbox is just your replica of your production. So now it depends whenever your company is syncing the production data with your full copy sandbox. So after my UAT, then goes into my production. And this is how generally processes. Now in case some hot fixes or something, those things are coming it out. So here what is happening, you have one more environment for hot fixes, that is maybe your pre-prod. So in that case, your code, in case someone gets an hot fixes, the process is same. I do my development in my developer sandbox. It goes into my SIT. There the tester send it, but it doesn't go to my UAT. It directly goes into my this hot fix, and then it goes into my this. They have this environment. They call it as RC package. So after that, it goes into my that they have this PC int, and after that is goes into my RC environment. Then it goes into prod. So in normal process, this is what is happening. And in case some urgent bugs is here, this is what is happening. Let me just make it. And after that, once it goes into the prod, then in the hot fixes, then it's getting background. Is this clear?
Okay. And another question. Sorry, I'm asking too many questions today.
Fine. No
Uh,
issue. What
what
is
is,
your name? Maybe I can next time. Then I will ask you.
My name is Shomin. Actually, today is my
Yeah,
first session.
fine.
So
Yeah.
earlier I have gone through all the video sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that scratch org? Earlier, the last session Animesh mentioned. So if you enlighten, be good.
Yeah, I was not there. But this scratch orgs is just like you create your own development. Inside your sandbox or in your development environment, you are creating your own org. Where you create your code and you just deploy it. You don't want to disturb other people's changes. And as far as I remember, this scratch org is valid for 7 days. And this one is mostly being related to Salesforce DX. But the scratch orgs I doubt hardly maybe 10 or 15% people are following it out.
Okay.
It's just like a temporary org you created out for your development, solely for your user development purposes. Temporary sort of a dev sandbox, you can say.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And in today's session any questions, any doubts you had. I can just show you the topic once again. Any question on SOCL query, any question on this. And do you need the code snippets? If you need I can post it in the chat also for reference. Or maybe you want to try it from your side.
You can post on chat, Manu.
Okay, Animesh. I will post.
Once you use it, you can use it. Yeah.
Because Animesh, someone might recording might need that, so I was asking.
Yeah, I will upload the recording after it is.
Yeah. Or Animesh, maybe I send one file that would be better, I believe.
Yeah. Whatever. You can like upload that file on chat.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because then it will move much more easier, because this chat will become very.
Yeah. That's So I will stop the recording if the session is
Yeah, that is done from my side.
okay.